Good Friday morning, everybody. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitch. This is Live with Vince and Taeler. We are going to discuss the latest and the greatest and the hottest in pop culture this morning. Taeler, how are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
I am good. I think like you mentioned you're a little tired. I'm a little tired. But listen, we are committed to this show every Friday morning at 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 o'clock Eastern. Man, we got a lot of topics to cover today. You got a little friend with you over there.
Yes, Sally Sausage, everybody. She decided to join me today.
I saw an hysterical YouTube video yesterday. It was about maybe 10 minutes long or so, and it was all about dogs reacting going to the vet.
No, that is not our favorite activity.
Do you go through a big to-do every time you got to take little sausage to the vet?
Oh, yes, all the time. Ironically enough, Scooby-Doo is the easiest to go to the vet, and she's my giant German Shepherd. And she's the easiest to get her claws. I trim all of their claws myself, my cats and my dogs. Yeah. And she's like the easiest. I'm like, how does that happen? I have 2 wiener dogs who it's like ridiculous. And then here's my German Shepherd. She loves wearing clothes. She likes getting her nails trimmed. And it's hilarious. I don't know how the flip happens.
That is great. Okay, listen, before we get rolling, I want to remind everybody, if you enjoy the show and you want to support Taeler and myself, please, man, send super stickers during the show, send donations during the show, and we will put them up on the screen, and we will address them. I got a note from Jeff, and Jeff, we are live. Bro, I did not see any button to connect this to Twitter. You told me to do it, but when I set up my StreamYard, I did not see any Twitter, bro, so I didn't make any mistakes. Anyway, guys, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the chatter between myself and Taeler, feel free to send the super sticker. Feel free to donate. I also am on Twitch right now. I did not see a button to disconnect to Twitter. Perhaps we will figure that out next week. I got to tell you, man, I'm going to start talking about this because I just got this from you, last night, and I was, are you kidding me? Like, listen, man, Hollywood, it seems to me, is running out of original ideas because everything is a remake. Everything is a remake. Mm-hmm. So now you sent me this email yesterday, and I'm like, wait a minute, bro. Are we actually going to start remaking cult classics now? Bro, they're a cult classic for a reason. They're a cult classic because they were stinkos, but over time, you fell in love with these movies. That's what made them a cult classic. You cannot remake cult classics. You cannot remake.
You own it.
Of course I own it. You cannot remake this movie. Are you out of your mind? There is only one Tommy Wiseau, bro. How do you remake this movie with Tommy Wiseau? I swear to God, it's like Taeler, seriously. Are we gonna remake The Toxic Avenger? Like, seriously? They're cult classics because they stink. We can't remake these.
For anybody that questions, like, why we have this show, this is it. This is it right here.
Come on, man. You can't remake this movie.
No, seriously. This became a cult classic for all of the wrong reasons. It like the unintended consequences of this film. Like, if you have not seen The Room, I challenge you to go watch it after this podcast. Spend your Friday evening. You will not thank me later, but you will also not stop watching it. It is that bad that it is good. Like, and this was meant to be a serious film, but it is laughable how bad it is. I feel bad for Tommy Wiseau. Okay, guys, I will give a shout out to Tommy here. Okay, he not only wrote the screenplay, he directed it, starred in it, produced it, and marketed it all himself. It had about less than $1 million. Oh, wait, no, it had. Hold on. I want to give you guys some accurate shizit here.
It has to be less than $1 million.
Oh gosh, it had a $6 million budget, and they only made $6 million. Like, I was surprised because this movie is so bad. It is so bad that it's good. Like, you can't stop watching it. It's like rubbernecking like something that's going wrong, and you're just like,
yeah,
like, and you can't stop. It's like it is one train wreck after an accident, after a pileup, after an explosion. It just throughout the movie, like when you start to recognize and discern something that is empirically wrong, then something else comes along that is just even worse. Like, it is hilarious. But yeah, they had a $6 million budget and they made 4.9 million. To this day, they have a 3.6 rating on IMDb and a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. I use this GIF sometimes on Twitter, Vince. You know that part of the movie where he's like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." Like, what is that? What is that? My favorite part is when he goes, "You lie, I didn't hit you." And like, she never says that. So it's like, why did you say that? I don't know what's going on in this movie, but it's like 80s or early 90s softcore prawn meets a really bad movie script.
It is so good. It is so good. There he is right there. Look.
Yeah, guys. They actually made a movie about this movie. That's how much of a train wreck cult classic it is. James Franco actually made an adaptation off of this movie. So one of the co-stars, Greg Sestero, who starred in the original movie The Room, actually wrote a book called The Disaster Artist, and it chronicled the troubling production of the film The Room. And James Franco actually adapted this into a film that starred him and his brother. Like, oh my gosh, what a cult classic. Like,
great movie.
Bob Odenkirk, what are you thinking for trying to start in a remake? People didn't believe him, Vince. Like,
hey, I want to point out a couple things. First of all, Jean Desjardins with a $1.99 super speaker. Thank you very much. And we've got a celebrity in the room who is saying that I think that movie is what put me in the hospital. The great Stevie Richards is with us watching the show, Taeler.
Hello. Long time no talk.
Yeah, Stevie is healing, man. Stevie's had a rough go of it of late. Everybody here in the brand
Prayers
is
up.
praying for Stevie, who we all love very, very dearly. But I cannot. I mean, seriously, come on.
Guys, please, this weekend, just go and watch The Room so you understand why we are vehemently reacting to this with such humor. Like, you're tearing me apart, Lisa.
All right, I know we have a slew of things to talk about. Again, guys, as always, feel free to cheer, donate. You want to get into conversation, that's how you do it. I will throw you right up there on the screen. What is next?
First, I thought it was worth noting that we have some birthdays today. Now, this isn't the big long list, but apparently a lot of people were born on this day. So you got Chuck Norris, whose birthday it is today. You've got Sharon Stone, Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, Bad Bunny. All have birthdays today. So I thought that was worth noting.
I got to tell you, man, you want to hear something funny, man? And I could have lost my job over this. I worked with Chuck Norris at one of the I don't know if it was a WrestleMania. It was one of the big shows. But anyway, my best friend in the world was a big Chuck Norris fan and had written a script with Chuck Norris in mind. Okay.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I got to tell you, I literally I was not working with the WWE for long. And I snuck my buddy in the building, and Chuck Norris was sitting alone in a room. And I brought my friend in there. I would have been fired in the spot if Vince McMahon knew this was going on. I brought my friend in the room who Chuck Norris, didn't know me or him from a hole in the wall. Bro, Chuck Norris sat down and literally had a 30-minute conversation with a total stranger. I mean,
wow.
totally cool and down to earth. It was really, really cool. Okay, happy birthday to all of you. What are we talking about?
Oh my gosh, what are we not talking about today? Okay, why don't we dive into this topic that I am I don't know if people say jazzed anymore, but I am wicked excited. I will let my Boston come out on this one. We're going to talk Lord of the Rings again this week, Vince. It's the bane of your existence, but I'm going to shove you through this. So here we go.
No, listen, I understand there are a lot of people that love this franchise. I am not one of them. I will die without ever having seen a Lord of the Rings movies. Too much going on for me to even try to understand. These movies are way too deep for me. But go ahead, Taeler.
You are killing my soul slowly each and every week that you do not get on the train with me for Lord of the Rings. You have seen The Room, but you will not finish Lord of the Rings. Come on. You are tearing me apart, Vince. Okay. So basically, we've talked about over the last couple weeks, for those of you who may, be behind on some episodes, there is a lot going on with the Lord of the Rings franchise. And this is kind of going to piggyback off of a point that Vince had made about remakes and studios potentially running out of ideas. I have a kind of a different take on this. I think that studios, with everything being so inflated and people are focused somewhat, to a certain extent, some people less on the art and more on the money making, which is a huge difference between old Hollywood and modern day cinema, is they want those big money makers. They want to spend but make infinitely more, basically. And I think that's what's going on. I don't think it's a lack of creativity, because to Nicolas Cage's point, there is a lot of artistic license being done with some films. It's just some films don't get to see the light of day in comparison to, for example, the MCU and so forth. And I think that's what we're seeing with Tolkien here. I think a lot of us, myself included, 2 Super Bowls ago, so 2021, 2022, when they dropped that first trailer for Amazon Rings of Power, I was so excited. I was like, yes, feed me more. Like, I was like super excited about it.
I was probably going to the bathroom when they played that break. I probably said, time to go to the toilet.
Vince.
Go ahead.
Vince. I swear, it'll be my mission to get you to love Lord of the Rings by the end of this. I swear.
I'm gonna point this out because Jean Desjardins did donate $1.99 without a comment. So John Desjardins just made another comment. So I'm gonna read this comment now.
Do it.
This is what he said, Taeler. I feel like The Room is better than Lord of the Rings.
Oh, now we're fighting. Now we are fighting. No, no.
Yes, John.
Rejected. No.
Go ahead, Taeler. Tell us about.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me. Sally, I need help. Okay, so I was really disappointed with Amazon Rings of Power. I feel like it was just indoctrinated wokeness. It was not the values and not what you expect from Tolkien material. I kind of felt like it was a disservice to the Tolkien franchise for Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, so forth and so on. And what's really disappointing is that is the single most expensive show ever made. They spent billions making Amazon Rings of Power. They're already working on a season 2, and now people are questioning Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema, where they actually have I think a minority licensing right to the actual franchise of Lord of the Rings. And so they actually have an animated version that they're working on supposedly for Rohirrim. for Lord of the Rings. Any diehard Lord of the Rings fans will know what I'm talking about. But now WB and New Line Cinema are trying to bring the original director for the Lord of the Rings franchise, Peter Jackson. They're trying to bring him back in negotiations with him and his team. He on all of the franchise throughout the whole thing, he worked with himself and two women to write and adapt the Tolkien books to the screen. Now, obviously, they're super long. Those books are very long. They're full of intricate details and stories and history and languages. So there's only so much you can fit into the films, but they were such a success. They earned over 17 Oscars nominations. Okay, and considering the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery in the fourth quarter lost over $2.1 billion, this could be a very great tried and true way for them to recoup a lot of those losses, because we're seeing these losses like we've talked about on previous episodes with Disney, Netflix, and DC Comics itself, and so much more. Like, they're starting to scrap projects just to use them as tax write-offs to get a break from inflation, from the pandemic pauses, which caused more money, plus the actual pay scale and the marketing budgets and everything else that goes along with it. So right now, people are trying to figure out if there's going to be enough material for two different companies to be doing Lord of the Rings. I think there is, because if you've ever tried to read the Silmarillion, oh my gosh, I could barely get through 3 chapters of that. Vince, that book is so detailed from Tolkien that it has a glossary in the back of the book. Wow. Just for you to keep track. So I think there's plenty of material there. But I also think it was kind of shady how Amazon actually tried to take Peter Jackson to direct the Rings of Power. And he was in negotiations with them, and they never sent him a script. And so him and his team were actually pretty mad that they actually thought Peter Jackson was involved with Amazon Rings of Power when they never even sent him the script.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think that you would want someone of his caliber who's already known to the franchise with 17 Oscar nominations to, I think you would send him the script, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess that's just me, but I'm pretty excited about this news, Vince. They're going to be doing some original films that are not remakes, which I'm actually really excited about. I think this is going to be a good way for the CEO of Warner Brothers, who was involved in the shenanigans we discussed with Black Adam. I think this is a good way for him to recoup his professional reputation and also recoup those $2.1 billion worth of losses for the fourth quarter.
I gotta tell you, Taylor, I'm the kind of guy when you start just piling it on, it gets to be too much for me where I lose my interest. Listen, I could tell you a completely different field, but I used to be a baseball card collector. Okay, all of a sudden in 1987-ish. The baseball card market was really up. So now all of a sudden there's 10 brand new baseball card companies. So you would go to buy your pack of baseball cards. Now there's so many baseball cards, you don't even know what to buy. So you say, F it, I ain't going to buy any of them. I feel that has kind of happened with wrestling. I know it happened with me with superhero movies. I saw, the first Superman. I mean, Spider-Man. I saw the original Batman movies. I think I even saw the first Avengers. But all of a sudden, when there's a superhero movie like every 3 months, I'm like, enough. I'm done with this. That's why, I'm a John Wick guy. But with John Wick, it's every 2 or 3 years there's one movie. It just sounds like now, again, it sounds like this Lord of the Rings is doing what Star Wars did when when Disney bought them, and there's always the Mandalorian and this and that, where I think just people get to the point where it's too, I think wrestling's that way. I mean, my God,
I agree.
You could find a wrestling show every day of the week if you want, but it's not too much for you. You say the more the merrier with Lord of the Rings.
Only because here's the thing. I do not like Amazon Rings of Power. I did not like it. I felt like it was not even Tolkien adjacent. I'm not the type of person to leave bad reviews, but if I did, this one would have been scathing. And I do not use that term lightly. It would be scathing. But when you have Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema, who actually did a really good job of bringing, Middle Earth to life, I think that they've shown a representation of success in this realm, so to speak, and they also have proven their, I wouldn't necessarily say loyalty to the source material, but pretty similar, very similar to how a lot of the video game fans right now are reacting to The Last of Us for the most part. Over 8 million viewers tuned into one of the most recent episodes. I think Lord of the Rings is the same way. You don't get 17 Oscar nominations by accident. Obviously, they did take some creative license with certain things in the film, especially with the second one, The Two Towers. That one was not according to the book. And obviously, if you're a Tolkien fan, Arwen was not the one that rescued Frodo. I think that was just trying to add some female influence into the films because it is a very male-dominated story. But to me, I honestly don't mind a male-dominated story. I don't see why that's a bad thing. Like, men have stories just like women do. So why not showcase that? It doesn't make it the S word. It just means it's a male story. So I think with all the different tribes, all the different characters, all the different overthrowings and stuff like that, I think there's a way that they can make movies and spread them out, which I think is what DC Comics is trying to learn from the MCU. Because if you've noticed, like you were saying, the MCU kind of overshot themselves of boom, 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 boom. Like, who has the money to go see all of those movies in the theaters, especially with the new price scale for different cinemas and picking your seats and the prices going along with that, plus everything else, right? So I think DC Comics is learning this lesson, and that's why they're only focusing on a low amount per year for actual films and then a couple shows for streaming per year. I think this is exactly what Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema can do because they've already had a track record of success. Yeah. So they know what they're doing if they stay true to the source material. And like you were saying, spread it out. This way, I think that they can be true to themselves and then kind of like Amazon Rings of Power kind of slowly implode with the expense of billions of dollars.
It's funny. I just want to point out, you talked about the Last of Us episode 8 reached over 8 million viewers. Funny when the wrestling business will try to tell you and convince you nobody watches TV anymore, bro. That's why wrestling ratings are down. No one watches TV, but yet 8 million people show up to watch The Last of Us, which I say all the time, bro. Stop giving me the lame ass excuses. If your show is good, they're going to watch it. It is that simple. And that show has grown each and every week for the last 8 weeks. They're up to 8 million people. Yeah. If your show is good, they're going to watch it. I'm so sick of hearing that crap. All right, what's next, Taylor?
To piggyback off your point,
I'm banning you a show talking about Lord of the Rings. Maybe next week. You're gonna bring it up, and I'm gonna give you to this. I'm gonna give you to this with the Lord.
You know what? You're gonna open mouth and insert your foot because Lisa. You're gonna open your mouth and insert your foot because I was segueing into John Wick based off of a point you just made about John Wick.
Now we're talking.
So open that mouth, insert that foot, mister.
Now let's talk about a franchise.
I have to say, I absolutely adore John Wick. I mean, Keanu Reeves can almost do no wrong, in my opinion. I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan. I just love his personality. I love the way he approaches life.
Can I show you something that's going to pop you more than the room this morning? Listen, I popped you with the Peeps, right?
Yeah.
Did I not pop you with the Peep soda?
You certainly did.
I popped you with the room. I'm going to pop you again. This is the rug in my man cave.
Shut up. That is wicked.
That is the rug in my man cave.
All right, that's pretty sweet.
Here's a close-up. Yeah.
That is awesome. Keanu Reeves.
I'm all for John Wick news. Now I'm sitting here with bated breath. Go ahead.
Oh my God, you're killing me. Okay, so I love pretty much everything that Keanu Reeves has done. You remember last year when they did that red carpet event where they had John Wick and the whole dog packages that they
Yeah,
had?
yeah.
Well, I actually got one of those promotional packages. I
Oh,
was
that
so
is
excited
awesome.
about it.
That is
So
awesome.
my wiener dog, Slinky the Weenie, actually had like a photo shoot with that John Wick. I believe it was John Wick 3. And it was so cute. They even had like carob dog snacks for your dog in
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
parcel, the
That's awesome.
promotional package. It was so cool, guys. Yeah, that was so awesome. I think that's on Slinky's Instagram. Anyway, I had some questions. So basically, we're gonna tie two topics into one here for anyone who's following. We're gonna discuss some questions that were answered by Nicolas Cage, and by
Oh, but
Keanu Reeves himself.
hold on a minute, Till. I hate to interrupt. Sometimes these people in the room, and I'm not going to say who you are unless it's tied to a super sticker or a donation. But somebody, see again, this is a wrestling fan. This is
Okay.
my problem with wrestling fans.
Come
Taylor.
at me. Let's go. I'm ready.
8 million people showed up because it's an adaptation of a very popular game. Did Taylor not just say the power of the rings absolutely sucked? Bro, this was an adaptation of a very popular game, but Taylor, if this sucked, 8 million people would not be watching it. It has nothing to do with an adaptation of a video game. You think if it's an adaptation of a video game and it's bad, the ratings are going to go up every week? Of course not.
No, video gamers are
Stop
sad.
being such a wrestling mark, bro. Stop. Go ahead, Dale. I'm sorry.
I don't think I don't think the person's a mark, but I think that they have to understand the world we're actually living in versus the world that they think we're living in, okay? Wrestling is not what you think it is as a fan. A lot of the wrestlers that you idolize are not great people, okay? But they can pretend to be great so that you spend your hard-earned money on them, okay? Like it's so easy. You know, you got to look for consistent behavior, and that is my point about The Last of Us and Amazon Rings of Power and so forth. There are certain niche markets where the fans are savage, and video gamers are savagely loyal.
Right.
Like, do not come at a Final Fantasy person unless you come correct, okay? People love their Final Fantasy, okay? People love their Zelda, okay? People loved The Last of Us. There's a huge laundry list of games, okay? They're gonna tune in to see if you did justice to their favorite games, okay? And they're going to tune in to see if you keep the continuity to the source material while also adding a little bit of creative license with it to keep it interesting instead of a play-by-play ripoff, right? And they're going to see how that all plays out. Now, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. That's that's free speech. That's, being an individual thinker. But honestly, like Amazon Rings of Power, you could say was somewhat successful, but anybody that's a diehard loyal Tolkien fan of Lord of the Rings, most of them did not like it, okay? They did not like it. Galadriel, I want to boot that character in the face. It was awful. It was filled with just woke indoctrinating BS, okay? And I'm sure that if The Last of Us did a lot of that and altered the characters so much so that they were not like how they were intended, I'm sure video gamers would have had a huge problem with The Last of Us. And that's something that you can relate to wrestling, for the wrestling fan who said that, okay? Wrestling, there's too much of it. There's too many people with pretend contracts, which means they're on a pay per appearance contract instead of an actual salaried contract. You got them floating from one brand to the next, okay? So there's no reason that you have to go see them on one show if next week they're going to be at the next one. There's just so much involved here that I think that comment doesn't really encompass. So anyway, John Wick.
John Wick, come on, Taylor, John Wick. You can't tease me like that. Go ahead, Taylor.
John Wick. Okay, so ahead of some people have already screened John Wick 4, and they are saying it's the best one yet in the entire franchise.
No doubt.
So I am so pumped. And ahead of this, on a promotional tour, I guess Keanu Reeves was answering AMA questions from fans on Reddit. And one of the questions was, let me see here. It says, quote, "Has there ever been a role in your career that you regretted turning down?" And Keanu Reeves said something I was not expecting, and I don't know how I feel about it. So definitely come into our comments, guys. He said, no, he said, quote, no, but I did always want to play Wolverine. Where did that come from? Wolverine? Like, really? Like, I love you, Keanu Reeves, but you strike me more as like a Darth Raven or Gambit even, but I don't see Keanu Reeves as Wolverine. I will say that I really want him to be Ghost Rider. I think he would be an epic Ghost Rider in comparison to Nicolas Cage, who also had some very interesting comments. So I want to hear your thoughts.
That movie was lame. Ghost Rider was so lame.
It was.
I want to ask you, what superhero could I step into the shoes of? Go ahead, Taylor.
Oh. I don't know. I honestly have no idea.
It would probably be a Tony Stark because we're both very handsome, I would think.
You know what? You have a pretty darn good business mind, so I could kind of see that. I could kind of see that.
Taylor, I just said we're both handsome, and you kind of laughed at that a little bit, though.
Did I really? I didn't even notice.
You didn't notice.
I still can't think of one besides the one that you mentioned, Tony Stark. I still can't. I don't know. Like, for me, everybody always just throws out Poison Ivy. But you know, I feel like there's so many different. I don't know. I digress. I could.
Are you segueing now to Nicolas Cage?
I am, because he had some interesting things as well to say about the MCU. So I hope people are getting on board with this. Here we go. So Nicolas Cage was at the Miami Film Festival, and he was receiving an award for the Variety Legend and Groundbreaker Award, which I didn't even know was a thing. And someone someone asked him about superhero movies, and he said, quote, "I understand what frustration is. I get it. But I think there's plenty of room for everybody. I'm seeing movies like Tar. I'm seeing all kinds of artistic and independently driven movies. I think there's plenty of room for everybody." And then when he was asked about the future for himself in the MCU, he had such a boss response. He turned around and said, "I don't need to be in the MCU. I'm Nick Cage." Mic drop.
That's a great line.
But I was thinking to myself, man, you like to gamble. So I feel like maybe to cover that really costly habit, maybe you should stay in the MCU. But then again, I'm selfish and I don't want him to be Ghost Rider again, because like I did not like those movies with him. I would rather have Keanu Reeves as Ghost Rider. So I'm 50-50 on this. I think I would rather not have Keanu Reeves as Wolverine, because I just cannot envision it. I think we need somebody else after, you know, Hugh Jackman is done with Deadpool 3. And then I also think that I don't know, I think like just put Keanu Reeves as Ghost Rider. I think that would be really cool. Or an older Batman who's kind of like passing the torch to Nightwing, which I think would be super cool. I think that would be very interesting, but I cannot picture like Keanu Reeves as Wolverine. And I mean, Nicolas Cage did get his name, Nicolas Cage, from the Stan Lee character Luke Cage. So he actually did say, that he has to be, he said, "I've got to be nice about Marvel movies because I named myself after Stan Lee's character, Luke Cage." So, I mean, okay, if you don't want to be in the MCU, that's totally fine. Like, let somebody else be Ghost Rider. You do you, man. And I think we have a super sticker.
Yeah, I got to tell you a little bit about this super sticker. This is Chris Patilla, who's been a longtime brand member. I consider him a friend of mine. I call him Patilla the Hun. He donated $4.99. He said Vince could have been the comedian from Watchmen, but I'm going to tell you something more.
Oh, I love Watchmen. Okay, that's a good one.
You know who loves Watchmen, man? You know who used to love Watchmen? Ed Ferrara loved Watchmen. But I got to tell you a little something about Patilla the Hun. He recently went on the Jericho cruise with all the AEW marks. His wife went on the Jericho cruise with him. Okay. Taylor, day 2, the woman jumped overboard. They haven't found her, Taylor. So if you're a woman and you're thinking of going on a AEW cruise, don't, because you'll jump overboard. All right.
Are you kidding with me? Like, are you messing with me?
She jumped overboard. She couldn't take the stench. She jumped overboard. She said, "I'll be better off swimming with the fishes." All right, Taylor, what's next? next on this list? Taylor, you got a lot on this list. What's next, Taylor?
But we're moving along.
I might ex-nay Dungeons and Dragons because that's in the Lord of the Rings group. Enough with this.
I don't think we were going to talk about that, so that's okay.
Yeah, the only dragon I know is Peach Dragon. I know Peach Dragon from Disney. That's all I know.
I love Peach Dragon.
Yes.
I love Helen Reddy. I grew up watching that movie. Candle on the Water is one of my favorite songs. All right, so here's what we'll do just to mention Dungeons and Dragons really quick is I'm going to give you guys a quick movie calendar update for anybody that is not aware.
I want to say we got a comment. Chris Patilla the Hun says his wife was lucky. She was lucky that she jumped overboard and she didn't have to endure the whole cruise. Go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. All right, as of today, Scream 6 is officially in theaters near you, so check out your local listings. It is a 6th installment in the franchise, potentially without the final girl. I am hoping, however, that Neve Campbell ends up being the killer, so let us know. We've talked a lot about that in great detail on this podcast.
You want somebody to let you know that? You want a spoiler on that?
I don't care. It's going to be spoiled anyway. You know how the internet is.
Fair enough.
On the 17th of this month, so pretty much a week away, you've got Shazam 2, The Fury of the Gods.
That's lame.
And of course,
Shazam's lame. We discussed that last week.
Shazam's very lame. Zachary Levitt, you are not the Deadpool of DC Comics. Like, sit down.
Yeah,
sit your ass down.
Shut up. Yeah, Shazam's weak. All right, go ahead, Taylor. What's
Billy Batson. Okay. And then, of course, we have Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves on the 31st of this month. So definitely check them out. And of course, we've also talked about Cocaine Bear to great detail, as well as Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, both of which are still in theaters. So definitely check those out.
I'm approving. Forget all this. Here's my approval list. The Cocaine Bear, you can go see. The Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Pot, you can go see.
I want to see that.
So do I. And John Wick, March 24th. I want to break in all kinds of box office. All right, we got another super sticker.
Okay, and really quick. Okay, go ahead, go for it. And then I'm going to kill your soul again.
I was going to mention like this, but I don't want people to think like I'm the creepy uncle. But I was going to mention this. Jamie Ruiz, a $5 super sticker. Keep up the great work, Vincent Taylor. Taylor looking stunning as always. I was gonna put over the hat. I love the hat this morning. I really do.
Thank you. I am obsessed with hats. It's my thing. I'm totally in my own vibe here.
I love the hat. You know what? I'm telling you. Let me ask you a question because you're wearing the ear gimmicks.
Yes.
So because you wear the ear gimmicks, you could wear the hats. Are they sufficient? Because I'm thinking of getting those so I could start wearing. I got some hats here I'd like to wear.
Honestly, the only reason why I'm wearing this is obviously because otherwise it would be like
right.
You know,
right. Yeah,
like that part with M. Sandler and the I now pronounce you Chicken Mary. I don't mind these. I actually got them from a Delta flight. They're actually really good.
Oh wow! So they're not expensive ones at all.
No, I got them for free.
Okay.
The thing that I don't like about earbuds is back when I was in college, they actually came out with a study that said people my age and older were coming into college with almost 20% hearing loss already. And that was probably 2008 to 2010-ish. So I can't imagine how bad that is now. And the earbuds, they also cause a lot of ear infections because every time you put them in your ear and take them out, it puts bacteria into your ears and stuff. So I don't necessarily recommend earbuds, but it was the only thing I could do today. I am partially deaf because of a wrestling injury. So I actually prefer like noise canceling headphones instead of earbuds.
You know, Taylor, I swear to God, and I'm sure you probably have this to some extent too. My hearing is not the best, and I swear to you, I think it's because those years and years and years of pyro. I'm telling you, man. I really believe that has something to do with it, man.
It does. How high you listen to music in your earbuds, also just the natural aging process, as well as different loud noises like concerts, if you're a concert goer, sitting next to the speakers in an IMAX movie theater, and pyro and stuff like that are all really big causes of hearing loss. It's definitely a thing. For me, I got clapped really hard in the ear. at the same time that I got short arm clotheslined into my head into a mat. And I was blind in one eye and deaf in one ear when I left the building that night. And my hearing never came back the same way. My eyesight did come back the next day. But yeah, when I left the building, I was blind in one eye and deaf in one ear. And I remember Al Snow telling me, "You're going to be okay, kid."
Yeah, of course. All right, what's next on this docket?
All right. The final part of the movie calendar update, just because I want to stick it to Vince, is April 13th. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is celebrating its 20th anniversary in theaters. April 13th, select theaters. Check that out.
That's in case seeing it 10 times wasn't enough. Now
it is never enough. It is never enough.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next up on the docket is going to be something interesting here. Okay. Give me 1 second. This is right up your alley because I know that you are a Rocky fan. So we are obviously getting ready for Creed 3. It's getting ready for theaters.
We are all boycotting Creed 3. I did a whole show about it on Glass Onions. They've screwed Sylvester Stallone out of this movie. Erwin Winkler and his buddy, what's his name, Michael B. Johnson, totally screwed Sly on this movie. So my motto is real simple. No Sly, no Creed. I saw the first 2 Creed movies. I own the first 2 Creed movies. We are boycotting Creed 3. They screwed our boy, and they're not getting away with it. So, guys, Sylvester Stallone has nothing to do with Creed 3. They screwed him over on Creed 3. No Rocky, no Creed. Go ahead.
I did not know that. So, yes. All right. So the whole weight of that film is on Michael B. Jordan. Good to know. All right. So IGN rated, guys. I don't always agree with IGN when they rate films and franchises and so forth and characters. I actually have like a bone to pick with them because they did the top 10 best vampire films of all time. And it was just awful. It was so bad. I was like, who was in charge of this? I want to know right now. So I'm very curious to see your thoughts on this, but I want to give a quick backstory here for anybody watching who maybe has not seen Rocky or maybe they didn't know these things. So apparently in 2006, Rocky, according to the Library of Congress, was worthy of preservation. So in 2006, they actually put it into the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and/or authentically significant. So they loved Rocky so much since 1976 when it debuted that the Library of Congress put it into the National Film Registry, which I thought was really, really cool. I don't know how many MCU films are ever going to, get that sort of standard, which I think is really speaks to the creativity of the 1970s, in my opinion.
I also want to point out, guys, because I told you, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone is not involved in Creed 3. It's all Michael B. Jordan, and it's his vision. Sly did not like the direction of the movie. He said it is very, very dark, and that is not the spirit of the Rocky franchise. So there was some creative differences, but I do want to say they approached both Mr. T, because Creed's opponent was possibly going to be Clubber Lang's son. They approached Dolph Lundgren because that his son could have been an opponent for Creed. And both Mr. T and Dolph Lundgren said, if Sylvester Stallone is not involved in this movie, we are not interested. And listen, let's give them credit because, listen, Mr. T and Dolph Lundgren could have probably used the money. They really haven't done anything in a long time, but they said, you know what? Sly made our careers in those movies. If he's not involved in this, we don't want nothing to do with it. So you got to give them a round of applause.
That is amazing. Can you hit that applause button?
Yeah,
I don't know if you have it. Wow.
Yes. Also, Taeler, I got a special hold on. I got a special Lord of the Rings button. Taeler, go ahead. What are we talking about?
Do you know that's actually a misnomer? Did you know that?
What's that supposed to mean?
The thumbs down, that's actually a misnomer that was been reported about, I guess, or is incorrect throughout history. The ancient Romans, when they would do the gladiators and the amphitheater and everything, and they would do this, that was actually good. A lot of people don't know
Oh,
that. That
really?
meant
I
you
thought
were
that meant
staying.
I thought that meant finish him.
Well, this does, but
Right.
not this.
Wow.
This means you stay.
Oh, okay. Look at that. We
And
learned
that
something
meant
today.
you go up to the gods. Yeah, a lot of people actually have that wrong. I learned that when I was studying Latin in high school.
Wow.
And then I took Latin in college. Yeah, that's a part of like ancient Roman history that has been incorrectly passed down. A lot of people don't actually know that. Anyway, so
You're teasing me with You're teasing me with Rocky. You say we're going to talk. You did the same thing with John Wick. You dangle a carrot and then you go somewhere else. What are we talking
you
about?
brought up Lord of the Rings. You brought up Lord of the Rings, not me. All right, so guys, this is really, really cool. I actually did not know that. I knew part of this story, but I did not know the whole thing. And this just makes me love the Rocky franchise even more. And hearing what Vince just talked about with the loyalty of Dolph Lundgren and Mr. T is so cool because you don't really find that in wrestling.
No, absolutely.
And so to have them to have such a bond
Yeah.
and loyalty, that is amazing. Like, I can't applaud that enough. Wow.
Yep.
So basically, in 1975, in thereabouts, Sylvester Stallone was actually homeless. And he ended up somehow getting into see a fight between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner. And he was so inspired by that fight. That was actually the inspiration for him to write the script, or the screenplay rather, for Rocky. And he wrote for 20 hours straight. And then it took him, I think, around 3 days to finish the whole entire script. And nobody wanted to buy it from him under his stipulations. And he was homeless and he couldn't eat and he could no longer afford to feed his dog. So he stood outside of the liquor store until someone was willing to buy his dog for $25. And he said he spent the next several days just crying, right? Well, fast forward, a studio offers him a couple $100,000. I think the first offer was $150,000 for the script for Rocky. And he said no, because they didn't want him to star in it. And he did. His stipulation was he had to star in it, right? So then they come back with a counter offer of like $250,000. He says no again. So then they come back with $350,000 and he still says no. So after some time goes by, he's like really depressed, but he really believes in his vision for Rocky, right? And they turn around and give him an offer of $35,000 and him to star in it. So if you think about how much they're getting paid today versus how much he took in 1975, 1976, $35,000 for Rocky and to star in Rocky. And one of the first things he did when he got paid was he stood outside of the liquor store for several days. And on the third day, he finally saw the guy he sold his dog to, and he had the dog with him. And the guy would not sell back Sylvester Stallone's dog. He offered the guy $100. He said no. So then Sylvester Stallone kept upping the price until he spent $15,000 of his $35,000 to buy his dog back.
And here's a little fun fact, Taylor, that you will love to know. So Taylor talking about Sylvester Stallone's dog, that is Butkus in the film. That is the dog in the film. He refers to it as my large dog, Butkus. That is the dog in the film that he bought back for $15,000.
That is amazing. I am such an animal person. Okay, so that's the inspiration for Rocky. So I'm going to go down this list, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this, Vince. And if you're watching right now, I want to hear your thoughts on what you think about this ranking from IGN.
This was our first kiss right here. Me and Penelope.
Okay, guys.
This was our first kiss right there. All right. God, so I'm showing you a lot of visual aids today, Kat. We got another $1.99 from Jean Desjardins. Thank you very much, John.
Hi.
All right, go ahead, Taylor. All
right.
I'm all in for Rocky. All
right, you guys ready? Okay. I don't know how much I agree with this list, but I definitely agree with number 1. Okay, so coming in at number 8 is Rocky 5. Coming in at number 7.
Well, let's go through these one at a time.
Okay.
There is no question that Rocky 5 is number 8. Absolutely no question.
I agree.
Yes.
Coming in at number 7, which I did not agree with, was Rocky 2.
This is I don't even know. This is the movie where he won. He went over. He won the title. To me, Rocky 2 is number 2 on the list.
I agree. I thought the same. Coming in at number 6 is Creed 2.
Yeah, I that's okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Coming in at number 5, Rocky Balboa.
I got a little bit of a problem with this because Sylvester Stallone himself knew that Rocky 5 sucked. So he's like, I gotta fix that. So he came back many, many, many years with Rocky Balboa, the last Rocky movie he made, which was an absolute classic. I might put Rocky Balboa as high as number 3.
I thought the same thing. I was flirting with between 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
That's
so
fair.
coming in at number 4 is Rocky 4.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Coming in at number 3 is Rocky 3. I liked Rocky 3, so I'm kind of okay with it being there, but I
Yeah.
definitely do not agree with the number 2 position.
I don't even know. Listen, listen. I really like the first 2 Creed movies. Now Michael B. Jordan has so much heat with me, but I got to remain unbiased. I like the first 2 Creed movies, but the only movie either one of those was better than in the Rocky franchise was Rocky 5. I'm sorry, Rocky 4 through Rocky 4 and Rocky Balboa were all better movies than Creed.
Yeah, coming in at number 2 is in fact Creed.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have put that as like 3 or 4, not number 2. And then of course, coming in at number 1, rounding out the list in the top position is Rocky.
It's gotta be.
I think that is so cool. Rocky was the number 1 highest grossing film of 1976. It was joined by All the President's Men, which I absolutely love. Gone with the Wind, and in the UK, it was The Omen. So that is some pretty darn good company. I think that that's really, really awesome. I love the Rocky franchise. I don't necessarily like what I digress.
Hey, I got all the President's Men is definitely my top 10 list. What a movie. I love that movie, man.
I loved all of that stuff. I was a political science major, so I studied, Watergate and think tanks, and I loved that book, All the President's Men. It is awesome. All right, and I think one of the last things on this list for today is actually what is in your food and what is going on with the food prices at the grocery store and food shortages. I think this is pop culture relevant.
All in. Yeah, but I'm all in with this. I somebody's got to smarten me up. Somebody's got to educate me because I don't know what the hell's going on.
Okay, so I actually sent some links to Vince earlier this week, Vince and Jeff, and this has been something that I have been studying for some time now because I off and on will rescue, foster, rehabilitate, and adopt and rehome animals. And so I've had a really awesome glimpse into the lives of chickens and pigeons and pigs and all kinds of stuff, right? And I've also been studying the how we today differ in our DNA and in our actual lives, both health wise, both mental and physical, emotional, and so forth, compared to generations past, and why we've seen such significant changes. For example, modern men have way lower testosterone levels than previous generations. The previous generation, babies are being born more toxic now than ever before. I mean, like straight out of the womb, they are they have more toxins in their bodies than any other generation in America. And we're seeing such skyrocketing prices with no real explanation. And why I brought up chickens is because dogs are carnivorous animals. Do not believe the hype about people trying to push veganism on their dogs. Like, to stop. You can be a vegan all you want. There's actual real health benefits in that, which we can talk about. But your dog is not a vegan. Like, just stop. Okay, and one of the favorite healthy things for things like German Shepherds and so forth is a carnivore diet, where you have, different chicken products and chicken feet, green beans and so forth, and livers and beef livers and stuff. And what's interesting is if you are an owner or a trainer that has your dog on that type of diet, you're struggling. not just because of the price, but because they're not there. They're not at the grocery store. You're still selling eggs and you're still selling chicken breasts. So where are the feet? Where are the livers? Where are the gizzards and the hearts? Where are they? What are you doing with them, right? And then you have people drinking water more now than ever before, but yet people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. So some of the links I actually sent you were about the food shortages, like things like chicken, eggs, baby formula, milk. And then I also sent you stuff about what's in our water. I actually talked about this in some detail on my podcast, Talks with Taeler Hendrix, where there's an actual government website where you can, it's independently owned, but it is part of the government. So it's kind of a weird thing that way. You can type in your zip code and it actually gives you the chemical breakdown of what's in your water, and it'll tell you how much arsenic is in your water. And if you're a person that's watched any season of Forensic Files, you know arsenic comes up in that son of a bitch quite a lot. And yet we're drinking it. We're drinking chlorine, fluoride, arsenic, I think it's called polypropylene, which if it sounds a little bit like ethylene glycol, it's because it's very darn close to ethylene glycol, which is pretty much antifreeze, which also shows up a ton in stuff like Forensic Files. We're ingesting microplastics, which cause all kinds of gut issues, including all of these different autoimmune diseases that we're seeing pop up now, like lupus, IBS, Crohn's, celiac, and all kinds of other things. We've also seen a drastic increase in Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, ADHD, ADD, and all kinds of other things. And nobody is really talking about how all of this can be, a majority of which can be traced back to pharmaceuticals and artificial chemicals and the stuff that we're eating and drinking and putting on our skin on a daily basis. If you think about it, we're showering in arsenic, we're cooking with arsenic water and all these other chemicals in water. I can't, for legal purposes, go ahead.
Are you suggesting that Jeff drinking water made him go bald?
I am not. There's many different factors for that.
Okay, you are about to make a very important point. Go ahead, Taeler.
I was. For legal purposes, I can't name the actual name brand of water, but I challenge you to go to your local grocery store and grab a bottle of water from a case and look on the back of the ingredients and Google each one of the ingredients, and also understand that they say active ingredients for legal reasons, but they don't tell you what the inactive ingredients are. They're only legally have to tell you the active ingredients, right? Yeah. And one of the reasons why I say for legal purposes, I can't say the name brand, is because this name brand water actually has in its water one of the chemicals found in the lethal injection in prisons.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, and I grew up drinking this brand of water before softball tournaments, before varsity games, like all the time. It was one of my preferred waters. And no one wants to talk about this. And it's very interesting because the sicker you are, the more things they tell you that you need. Oh, you need to go get this procedure. You need to eat this pill. You need to eat this. But then when you actually look on, like, for the American Cancer Association, heart associations, and all this other stuff, who are their lobbyists? Food companies and pharmaceutical companies. Absolutely. So they're telling you certain things are healthy when in fact they're not. And some of your favorite healthy food brands have all been recently bought by big food, which sounds really funny to say, but it's true. There's basically 10 food companies that now own a majority of everything that you buy at the grocery store. They own the waters, the sodas, the healthy bars that you buy, the all kinds of stuff. So we want to focus on the fact that, you know, we have the government going after, for example, JetBlue, right? Oh, you can't buy this other airline because then you're going to be a monopoly. But here's the thing. The government is actually in a huge monopoly with big food and so forth and so on, because they're allowing these food companies to buy up all your drinks, all your healthy foods, your fruits, your vegetables, all this stuff that they then market to you and market to your kids. When you go to the grocery store and you see on your fresh produce a little barcode, that barcode is actually there for a reason, because it actually tells you how that piece of produce was grown. I think a 9, I think I'll have to go back and look. I've talked about this several times on my podcast. I think 9 means it's organically grown. I think 8 means it's herbicide and pesticides. And then I think 4, if it starts with a 4, I think it's genetically modified. I have to double check those, but yeah, if you look on your fruit, like an apple, for example, and it has a little barcode sticker, that's actually not just to scan at the grocery store. That's actually telling you how it was made.
Wow.
And so I think it's terrifying that not only do we have a food shortage, the food that we are being, programmed to buy is killing us softly and slowly and not so gently. But it's definitely like a silent killer in how we're approaching, mental health, physical health, fitness, how we operate in our day-to-day lives. And then for the food shortage, Vince, which is interesting. I know I sent you those clips. There, some people are so outraged now, for whoever's listening to this. If you do not believe me, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to believe it either. You guys haven't believed me for years, but now there's other people actually talking about it. You can go on YouTube and Facebook and find people are sharing this stuff everywhere. I talked about this as well in my podcast. This guy took a lighter, right? And he turned on his lighter and he poured a hazelnut coffee creamer, that powder creamer, over the lighter, and it went. I can't tell you how many people I know put creamers and sweeteners and stuff like that in their coffees all the time.
You think that's how Jeff lost his hair?
Maybe. Maybe. And they're actually...
Yeah, that stuff's no good, man.
Yeah, and they're forcing farmers to dump hundreds of thousands of gallons of milk away, not allowing them to sell it from their farms. And then there's dump sites where they're getting filled with containers for eggs because the farms aren't being allowed to sell their eggs. And it's not because they're not good, it's because they're too good. And it's because it's locally owned by family farms. We're slowly eradicating our family farm system. It's really sad. And then this woman who's a trucker, which was very touching to me because my dad's a trucker. He's done this for many, many years. And even he was telling me his concerns about being a trucker in today's society. And this woman was so overcome with emotion. She was so upset because her 18-wheeler rig, they were pulling out the crates from her rig, and they were just taking out baby formula and getting rid of it. And how many people during the pandemic were struggling to find baby formula, baby food, so forth and so on. And then if you look at the price of eggs, you look at the price of meat, you look at the price of a gallon of milk. These things are not by accident. It is artificially created. And I think that's very, very interesting for our modern society, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Ben speaking of, Stevie and the great Ben Hameen, man, they've been talking about that for years, just like you, Taylor, 4 years. But man, everybody just just goes along with it. Nobody asks any questions. Oh, eggs are $6 this week. Oh, okay. There must be a short. No. Nobody stops to ask the questions. It's all about control, man. Yeah. It is all about control. And if you don't ask the questions, you are just going to be controlled, man. Look, gas, eggs, you mentioned it, baby formula. Remember the toilet paper? Somehow that disappeared for whatever reason. It's unbelievable, man. And that is, that's why Taylor is telling you this. Because all of this happens, Taylor, when we don't smarten ourselves up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can no longer believe the people we used to believe. When Walter Cronkite was on that evening news, you believed Walter Cronkite. Those days are over. You know why? Because those media outlets are owned. And they have an agenda and they have a message. So you guys, I talk about this all the time, man. Just like Taylor, she sent me all these links, man. You got to do the research and the work. Taylor, it literally could be a matter of life or death, right?
It is. Like, look at how many children are getting plugged up with ADHD medicine, for example. I'm a former teacher, so this is something that I'm very passionate about. I had to work on average anywhere from 10 to 20, 2.8 through 3-year-olds at a time. like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Anyways, and they're getting all plugged up with all kinds of medicines because the ADD, ADHD, Ritalin, all this other stuff, right? Nobody's stopping to realize that a lot of the food that is promoted towards and geared towards children has all of these dyes and things that are literally outlawed in other countries. Okay, the fact that a butter, for example, there's a specific butter, and I do not want to get sued, so I will not name it out loud. It's so toxic, it is not allowed to be sold. It was pulled off the shelves a couple years ago throughout the entire UK. But in the US, the FDA said that this company has 5 years to before they have to make sure it's all off the shelves. Why 5 years?
Oh
Huh?
my God.
Why? And it was literally killing people. So it's just very interesting, how we're plugging, everybody with all kinds of artificial dyes and chemicals and poisoning water and food. And this doesn't just affect people, it affects future generations. It affects the animals around us. It affects the land. It affects the ecosystem, the atmosphere. It affects everything. And I think it's really, really sad because I see a lot of people that are sick and they're being peddled all this information. That's why this dictator said, he who controls the media controls the people. And that's why a lot of people get deemed crazy if you're like, oh, there's a conspiracy theory. Well, maybe it's because there is a C theory, because maybe, just maybe, you have to be crazy in order to tell the truth.
That goes all the way back, man. People don't understand this, bro. This goes all the way back. I hate to say, this goes all the way back with Hitler. Because when Hitler started coming into prominence, radio had just become a popular thing, and Hitler was blasting his messages over the radio. So it was that basic. Now you think about today, modern technology and the power of the media and the message that they could put out there. It's freaking mind blowing. But again, man, it's like you got, I think it's something like 15% of the population are smartened up, and 85% of them are just going along with whatever we're told to do. I swear it drives me nuts, Taylor, because both of my mother passed away, but my dad's 92 and they're living in Florida with senior citizens. When my mother died, Taylor, she must have been taking at least 25 different pills a day.
I believe it.
That's all they do. Your pinky hurts? Oh, we got medicine for that. Oh, what, the arthritis, your blood pressure, your diabetes? They just bombard the elderly with medication to put a Band-Aid on things, not getting to the core and fixing it.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Well, they can't get to the core and fix it because they don't want to admit that they're part of the problem. We see the same thing in wrestling. Yep. People only talk about something when it's trending and popular to do so because they're safe under the umbrella. A lot of people don't want to challenge the status quo because most people in life, I said this on my podcast actually, there's 3 kinds of people. There's the people that are in line for the reassuring lie, which is the 80-something% of the population. Then you have the people that are lined up for the inconvenient truths, which is, less than 15% of the population. And then there's this other random line, which is probably significantly bigger than the second line, but nowhere close to as big as the first line. And that third line is the people that don't know who they are. They're kind of waiting to see which way the wind blows. Are they a contrarian? Are they, a go with the flow? They haven't quite figured it out yet. And unfortunately, to get to the root of the problem, you have to get in line for the inconvenient truth and not the reassuring lie. And that's when you can start to dismantle a lot of these things that are actually making us sick. Like it's making the air toxic. It's making literally there's a lethal injection chemical in one of the bottled waters. Like I cannot make that stuff up. You can literally Google it. I saw it in a video. I didn't believe the video. So then I went and did my Googling on that chemical. And sure enough, boom. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've drank that. I've drank that water before a sporting event, and I'm just so mad, and then you wonder why we have all of even look in Hollywood, since this is a pop culture podcast, how many Hollywood stars have come out saying that they deal with anxiety disorders. They're dealing with lupus. They're dealing with X, Y, and Z disorders and all this stuff. You didn't really see that in former generations of Hollywood. Why is that becoming more prominent? One, obviously it's an attention getter. But number two, it's because it is happening more now than it was before because of the genetically modified food. There's a company that will sue any farmers that try to sell you heirloom seeds, which means that they're original, they're seeds of original plants grown without any sort of products, any sort of pesticides, any sort of chemicals. They'll be sued if they try to sell you those. You know, that's the kind of world we're living in, and we're seeing this trickle down into other aspects. That's why your airline tickets are more expensive. That's why your theater tickets are more expensive. That's why it's more expensive to make movies. That's why gas is more expensive. That's why everything is so much more expensive. And it just begs the question, what is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak? When does the buck stop being passed, and what's going to be that final spot where it trickles down into, and then everybody says enough is enough? What is that point? Because it's trickled through pop culture, modern society, everything. When is enough enough?
Yeah. Great stuff, Taeler, as usual. Tell everybody about your podcast, your books, everything you got going on.
I hope you guys loved today's episode. I've really been enjoying doing this with Vince for the brand Live with Vince and Taeler. So I hope to continue seeing you guys grow on this channel. Every week I do weekly content from Monday through Sunday on my YouTube channel. So you can find me there, youtube.com/@TaelerHendrix. I have Motivation Mondays, all kinds of stuff, including Fun Fact Fridays, Q&A Wednesdays. My podcast is every Tuesday with russosbrand.com called Talks with Taeler Hendrix. You also have my blog on Medium, which you can find by typing in my name. It costs you nothing, and every time you read something I write, I get paid. It's awesome. You can also find my books. I am really proud of my latest book, my fourth book, The Hopeful Spider. All 4 of my books are available on Amazon, amazon.com/ebooks, and you can type in my name and my 4 books will pop up. 2 of them are a top 100 books. So that means they made it into the top 100 spots in their category on Amazon. And my first book, It's Not Easy Being a Sloth by Taeler Hendrix, is also available with barnesandnoble.com. And let's see, I am on Cameo. You will not find a better deal on Cameo. For $10, you get a personalized message from me, and each video also donates to various charities, including St. Jude's Hospital, cameo.com/Taeler Hendrix. And then I will hope to see as many of you as possible in Santa Rosa, California on March 25th with Lucha Patron. And you can find tickets there with luchapatron.com/tickets. So that is everything I am up to.
That is awesome. And Jean Desjardins with another $5 donation. Thank you. Amazing discussion. Taeler is full of wonderful insight. And I also wanted to mention, because I brought it up earlier, Clinton Merchant.
Hi, Clinton.
Yeah, Taeler, if it wasn't for Motivational Monday, I would not make it through the week.
Clinton has been a fan of mine for so long. He actually met me in person at a WrestleCon. For those of you that don't know, Clinton is awesome. He got a job this past year. He worked really hard for it. He tunes into my YouTube channel weekly. He is awesome. He actually helped me donate at WrestleCon for Progeria Research, the Progeria Research Foundation. He is awesome and a huge loyal member of my fan base.
I got to be honest with you, though, Taeler, I got a DM from Clinton, and he said in the DM, Vince, I got to be honest with you, I hate Lord of the Rings, but I can't let Taeler know that. So I just, I just want
lies.
All right, you guys, the great Taeler Hendrix, man. What information, what a wealth of knowledge. Taeler, thank you very much. All of you that sent in super stickers today, thank you very much. Go to Taeler's YouTube channel, like it, subscribe, the books, everything she does. I always say, man, you got to support the good peoples, and Taeler is one of the good peoples. Guys, have a great, wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week.